An Indiana woman was arrested after she drove her car into a building because she thought it was a, quote, Israel school. Well, that's why they don't let women drive in the Middle East. You don't like it, or?
You don't. He's not sure whether they liked his joke or not. He was a little afraid he might be canceled for funny joke about the Democrat jihadi woman that crashed her car into something she thought was a Jewish building. But it was actually filled with a bunch of genocidal, hate-filled, racist Democrats who hate Israel, which made it a little bit funny. Not hysterical, but, kind of funny. Nobody was hurt. Crazy lady was arrested. Speaking of crazy Democrats and covering wacky stories, Secret Service agents protecting Joe Biden's granddaughter opened fire in Georgetown last night, just before midnight, because 3 Democrats were smashing out the window of a Secret Service vehicle and trying to rip it off. So at least one Secret Service agent opened fire and didn't hit any of the 3 assailants, which is kind of funny too. Let's be honest. That's a little bit humorous. So we got that going for us, and that's I assume the agent, he or she, is at the range today honing those skills, because you don't have agents out there with firearms whipping them out and opening fire midnight in Georgetown and not being able to hit where you're shooting at. And you got 3 targets. Come on. If you miss one, there are 2 others to hit. Maybe he or she needs one of those laser things, needs a laser thing on the firearm. It's a little dark, but it wasn't in the middle of a gunfight or anything. It's just, somebody ripping off the car. You're going to open fire, might as well hit one of them, I think. That's my thinking. That's pretty wacky. And the Democrats are doing such a great job with our open borders with the illegal aliens that now it's completely crazy. Migrants in Chicago are eager to flee back home to Venezuela, the socialist utopia, because they found out that Democrats run Chicago and it's no better than Venezuela. So now they're out of there, and lots of others too. According to news reports out of Chicago, illegal aliens are eager to get back to whatever hellhole they fled just a few months ago, because it's starting to get cold. Starting to get cold there, know what I mean? Venezuela, Nicaragua, they're not cold like Chicago, are they? Not a chance. And so in Chicago, it's, take me back to Chihuahua. Chicago's not my style. Chicago migrants return to Venezuela ahead of winter. There's nothing here for us. I like that. There's nothing here for us. Like, son, you're on your own. The American dream doesn't exist anymore, said illegal alien Michael Castellon. So that's, there he is, and he's taking his family. There's nothing here for us. The American dream doesn't exist anymore. He had to come to Chicago and experience a little bit of fall before he figured that out. They believe what they see on CNN. And then Joe Biden and the Democrats told him, no, this will be great. Come on in. I got all kinds of stuff for you. Here's my daughter. Here's a gift basket. Take whatever you want. That's and the illegal aliens in Chicago say, how many more months living on the streets can I take? Come on. No more. It's better that I leave. At least I have my mother back home. He has his mother back home. It's very nice. He's thinking of his mother. That's great. So they're fleeing. Now they're fleeing. The news reports are that all kinds of illegal aliens are fleeing because, Democrats is the short answer. And in New York City, where they're planning on putting illegal aliens at this tent city at Floyd Bennett Field. Well, they delivered several busloads of illegal aliens there yesterday. And the illegal aliens are like, oh, no, we're not staying here. What are you kidding me? I want to be in Midtown Manhattan. Put me back on the bus. My kids are going to school in there. I got a job in the Bronx. Come on. What are you doing? So the illegal aliens got back on the buses and they're like, we're not staying here. We're not going to leave you here. I'm at the Roosevelt Hotel, Midtown. Chop, chop, driver. That's your Democrat Party. Aren't they amazing? Yes, sir. The illegal alien thing has gone great. I cannot stay here. This is crazy, they said when delivered to the tent city in Brooklyn. We did not know we were coming here. They just said they were taking us to a shelter. This is what the left, this is what they're doing to our country. Even illegal alien criminals from beep hole countries don't want to stay in New York and Chicago because the Democrats have ruined them. And in Washington, D.C., the Secret Service vehicles are being looted and plundered. Secret Service is opening fire and missing. And this is another one that Democrats are responsible for. Cases of chicken pox reported among children in Denver migrant shelters. Oh, good. See, we eradicated chicken pox in the United States, America, and then we secured our borders, and then we had medical tests for people entering our country, just like young Vito Andolini arriving in Godfather Part 2 at Ellis Island. You know, we'd check out for medical things. But not anymore, because Democrats want voters, and they're that corrupt. They despise the United States of America, and they want to wreck us. Cases of chickenpox are being reported among children in the migrant community. Now it's a community living in Denver. Is that Colorado a border state? Sure. Rogelio Mares reports on how it's affecting one family and how the city is responding with the Fox station in Denver, Colorado. Hey, chickenpox is back. And what were they finding in the water system in New York? They were finding another malaria or something, another one that we had eradicated from the United States. But the Democrat Party is bringing all kinds of diseases and illnesses back because they want to win elections, and they don't care about anything but winning elections. You know, as their boy Joseph Stalin said, and the New York Times said, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Know what I'm talking about?
Legionnaire's disease?
No, they're undoubtedly bringing back Legionnaire's disease too. But hey, these people. Can I just say these people? And the Secret Service story is amazing. I've also got a story on Joe Biden because Joe Biden is not up to the job of being president, and he's not up to the job of campaigning for president. And now the left-wing media bootlicks are having to admit it out loud, like the clowns at Politico. But first, let's go to a telephone call. Let's go to, let's go to Brad calling from Key West, Florida on line 3. Bradley, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey,
Hey, Brad.
Chris, thanks. You and I both grew up in the North Shore of Chicago. You from New Trier, and I was Glenbrook North, and we both got kicked out of high school. Anyways, I spent 40 years of my life up in Chicago. 18 years down around Dearborn and Chicago Avenue, and 18 years or so up in Northbrook. And when my mom died, my father was living in Vero Beach, Florida. And so I started doing road trips. And during my road trips, I started catching a female blues guitarist named Samantha Fish. She is unbelievable. She is a force. And I would catch her shows here and there and everywhere on my journeys. And my dad was a Marine fighter pilot. And I went in the Army, and he wrote me off for 30 years, but we made peace, and then he died. And then I decided to follow Samantha Fish full time. And she ended up playing down here in Key West. And when I pulled in, I said, this is where I want to live, through Chicago.
And Samantha Fish is your wife and the mother of your children?
Not at all.
Okay. All right, but you went into the Army and you found your way from Chicago down eventually to Key West, and you planted the flag like John Smith, and you said this is the place, and you've never looked back because start with winter. Start with winter in Chicago, and what these illegal aliens are discovering is, the weather is a lot nicer close to the equator They should have thought of that early on. And then I got to say, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, his genius moves by packing people up and sending them to Democrat-run sanctuary cities. And now they're discovering in New York and Chicago, the Democrat-run sanctuary cities are not much different than the beep hole countries that they fled. And, maybe they thought they were envisioning Key West or something, but you guys better lower the gate to entry to Key West because now that people are fleeing New York and Chicago, illegal aliens, they might be looking for some place like the place that you found.
Well, the good thing about Key West, it's only 2 miles by 4 miles, so there's not a lot of room.
Well, that doesn't matter because, they'll pack it in. The Democrats will pack it in. They could care less about any place in America being, remaining intact. The Democrat Party is here to wreck everything because they're not really Democrats. They're the left.
Well, the other thing about living down here, yes, we have a mayor that is Democrat. And during the lockdowns, she was horrible. But thank God for Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
He shut it all down.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have that going for you. That's absolutely right. Brad, listen, enjoy your Key West day. I'm sure it's beautiful there, and it's an enviable place to be. Beautiful Key West, Florida. And you're right, Governor Ron DeSantis has done the right thing all over the place for the state of Florida. There's no doubt about that. You found it, so you're not moving back to Chicago anytime soon.
No.
No, I'm not. All right, Brad, thanks, buddy. Have a great Key West day. I'm marveling at what is going on across our country. And the jihad, the Democrats have invited the jihad in too. Now, make no mistake, the jihad is something that's been going on for centuries against Western civilization, against all the infidels. The jihad is very real. This is not a fiction. After September 11th, the Democrats were already pounding the table. You remember Jeremiah Wright, also of Chicago, the Trinity United Church of Christ. That was Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's church. And it was these spiritual guideposts for Barack Obama and presumably Michelle Obama. And you remember Jeremiah Wright said the Jews, just to bring the anti-Semitism full circle, Jeremiah Wright said that when Barack Obama won the presidency and moved to Washington, a reporter asked him, "Are you going to be meeting with Barack Obama since you're his spiritual counselor?" And what did Jeremiah Wright say?
Have you spoken with him since he's been in the White House? You ain't gonna let him talk to me.
Those Jews ain't going to let him talk to me. So he's an anti-Semite and a Democrat in good standing with the Democrat Party. And you remember after September 11th, that was on a Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. That Sunday, it was Jeremiah Wright, Barack Obama's spiritual guidepost, that told his congregation that, that we deserved to be hit on September 11th by the jihadis.
America's chickens are coming home to roost.
So that was, more than 20 years ago, more than 2 decades ago. The jihad is still ongoing. The jihad is, this has been going on since the Crusades, in case you didn't know. But the Islamic jihad against the West have been ongoing since the Crusades. And taking Jerusalem was already home to the Jews and the Christians, what with Jesus Christ and everything. And, the Prophet Muhammad had a dream at night while he was asleep that he rode a white-winged horse to the most distant mosque. And then it was determined much later that most distant mosque was actually Jerusalem. And so we have the Dome of the Rock and all that stuff. And that's, the jihad has been ongoing since that time. And they haven't been very good at it, but they're still coming. And Israel is a part of it. But remember, we are the great Satan, the United States of America, and the West. And boy, I've got some great audio for you today out of Great Britain with everything that's going on there as well. Now, do you have annoying odors in your home or office that you just can't get rid of? Well, now you can get rid of any stinky odor with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from cooking, cigarette smoke, litter boxes, Even leftists are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds to clear any room of any odor, and there are no expensive filters to have to buy and replace over and over again. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. More than 350,000 thunderstorms sold, thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. People love them. I've got two of them at home myself. During this week, I've got a great deal for you to get your own thunderstorms, because right now you can save $200 American when you get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for whole home protection. One for the teenagers' room. Give one to your smelly, your workmate there. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com. Enter the discount code Chris. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris, C-H-R-I-S. And because you know me, you get free shipping. And that's real good. Yeah, what do you hear because it's going on in Europe too right now, and the left there is also too stupid, too dishonest, too corrupt to tell the truth. Fortunately for all of us, I am not. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. More Democrats, more carjacking, we know that. More Democrats, more shootings, we know that. More Democrats, more murder, sure. More looting. Democrats mean empty shelves at the CVS and grocery stores. Supply chain they can't make work because they're lefties. And then, of course, diseases, because chicken pox being reported among children in Denver. And we, Western civilization, America, the patriarchy, had eradicated chicken pox as a medical issue, and now it's back because, the cases are being reported among immigrant children in migrant shelters, and then it will spread from there. And I said, what was it in New York that they had discovered another eradicated, and it wasn't coming to me. But fortunately, Jeff and Brian both let me know that it was polio, that polio was found in the wastewater in New York. They monitor the wastewater for things like that. And they found polio, which we had eradicated. The patriarchy had eradicated polio. The left hates the patriarchy because the way they view it, it's a group of people, and they hate all groups of people and individuals. So, especially if you excel and do a better job than anyone else, then they want to. It's the crab barrel thing. They want to pull you down. That's your Democrat Party. Hey, I've got more. They're anti-Semites, too, and they're pro-jihad. That's coming up. All right. As I mentioned, anti-Semitic hate crimes surged 200% in New York City when compared to the same period last year. The National Review has the story. And Ari Blaff. Despite overall crime declining in New York City in October, hate crimes against the Jewish community jumped by over 200% compared to the same period last year. That's just for the month of October. And it's, jihadis from the Middle East that the Democrats have waved in because they hate us too. And, of course, Democrats. In the weeks following Hamas's surprise attack on Israel, the NYPD Hate Crime Task Force registered 214% spike in anti-Jewish incidents compared with the same period last year, according to an NYPD press release. And then they get to their hate has no place here. Well, you got all these Democrats. It's kind of unavoidable. It really is. And it's all over the place. It's not just here in the United States. It's in Europe, too, because the jihad is worldwide. And the little Satan is Israel, what with all those Jews and everything. But the great Satan is the United States, America, and its Western civilization. And the jihad has been underway since the Crusades. more than 1,000 years ago. Stay away is the headline. Washington Free Beacon. Brooklyn Jews told to avoid anti-Israel rally in Jewish neighborhood. Crown Heights was the site of a deadly anti-Semitic riot in 1991, instigated by Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al Charlatan, a well-known anti-Semite and racist from way back, an anti-American. But he's not anti-capitalist because he's a shakedown artist extraordinaire, and he's been able to shake millions out of the trees of the guilty white liberals. So Crown Heights, Brooklyn, Jews have been told to avoid the site of an anti-Israel rally taking place on Saturday in the historically Jewish neighborhood. And that, I believe, prompted the actor James Woods to post on X. Jews told to shelter in place. Now, in New York, we had lots of glass broken. The mobs attacked Grand Central Station. The police were barricaded inside, the giant mob outside smashing windows. The night of broken glass, Kristallnacht. The anniversary was just the other day. I was talking to you about it while the Democrats and the other jihadis were out there smashing windows. And that's what the night of broken glass is all about. And it's happening all over the place. There was a business owner in Pittsburgh, Jewish business owner, who put a sign, "Support Israel," in his front window, and a leftist woman came along dressed like a terrorist with her face covered in black and tore down the sign and attempted mightily to smash the storefront window with a hammer, but she's so weak that she couldn't smash the big window in front of the business, so she went over and she smashed the window out on the business's vehicle, which was parked there. That she could break, that she could destroy. She is a Biden voter, a Hillary voter, an Obama voter. She's a Democrat. She self-describes as a liberal, and she's really a leftist, but she's too dumb to know the difference. So the march in Brooklyn, in a historically and predominantly Jewish neighborhood, Jews were told to just lock down, shelter in place, because the Nazis are here. And you know how the Democrats love to... Who's that Biden administration woman saying whatever we accuse you of doing is what we're doing? She's quoting the Soviet Union. But they love to call everybody Nazis, right? And then they behave like the Nazis. Victoria Nuland of the Obama State Department under oath on Capitol Hill.
It is classic Russian technique
Democrat.
to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
And so they accuse conservatives that go to church and join the military of being Nazis. And then it turns out they're the real Nazis. They're we're not obviously anything close to being that. We're the freedom and liberty people and the small government and the leave us alone people and respect human life people. They, on the other hand, love to accuse everybody of being Nazis. And then, guess what? As soon as they get a chance, they behave like what? Like what? In New York, anti-Semitic hate crime soared last month. Is it guys with torches? Is that from the Home Depot? Is that what's going on here? Anti-Israel protesters burn Israeli flags, spatter fake blood on New York Times building. And they were tearing down American flags in New York, the giant violent mob of thousands and thousands. They're jihadis and Democrats. And they're replacing them with Hamas flags, which is what the Palestinian flag is right now. You know, when the Nazis took over in Germany, they called the Nazi flag the German flag. Then it became a symbol because the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, you know how that goes from that point forward. Just extraordinary. 500,000 plus pro-Palestinian demonstrators mob London as American protest held near Biden's Delaware mansion, is the headline. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinian protesters carrying the Hamas flag taking over downtown London. I played some extraordinary audio for you last week with a great British thinker, Douglas Murray, talking about the likely eventual need to call out the military for what they're dealing with there. And he said, and if the military is not called out, then the British people will take matters into their own hands. And he said that would be brutal, and you would not want to see that. But Western civilization is very much under assault right now. Western civilization is under attack. And the Democrat Party, the left, are in on it because they want to tear down Western civilization too. They are maladjusted, malevolent miscreants, and they are violent, and they are organized, just by the way, among other things. And they demonstrated during Black Lives Matter how they can snap their fingers and call up violent mobs at the drop of a kufi, that's a Muslim hat, and burn your town down and take on the police. And, of course, the Democrats have demonized the police to the point where the police don't want to police as a verb anymore. My best girl and I yesterday were down on the mall, and it was just the two of us. And we went down, met up with our friend Tony Schaefer, who was the Grand Marshal of the Veterans Day Parade, which was held a day after Veterans Day, I recognize, on Sunday instead of on Saturday. And we were hanging out and having a nice time. And there was a police officer there. And he's like big, strong, classic, looked like a Hollywood police officer. And he dressed up in his police uniform. And he's pacing back and forth on the block we were on, shooing people back up onto the curb so you're not being run over by marching bands and things like that. And I thanked him for being a police officer as we were breaking up, getting ready to go. And I said, hey, thanks for being the police. And he laughed and he said, 7 months left. I'm out here 7 months. And I said, you too, huh? And he just smiled and nodded because the police are fleeing the jobs everywhere around the country, especially big cities that Democrats control, because they know that if you arrest anybody, the Democrats will lynch you because they're not on the side, the Democrats, of law and order. The police are, but not the Democrats. So 500,000 pro-Palestinian demonstrators mob London as American protest held near Biden's Delaware mansion. I should also say at this point that tomorrow, Tuesday, in Washington, D.C., there is a pro-Israel rally on the Mall. Pro-Israel rally on the Mall. And I can tell you, based on conversations I had over the weekend, I know people that are afraid to go because fear is very powerful. Now let's go to some audio. But it's what is it, 1 to 3? Is that what you said? 1 to 3 p.m. on the Mall, pro-Israel rally. And there are Jews that are afraid to go. I would go, but I can't because I have 2 jobs and I'm going to be at one of them. And otherwise I would be there. But I know people that are afraid to go because that's what terrorism is. And between the jihadis, who are now out in the open on our streets in America, terrorizing, and the left, who are more violent, decidedly more violent, just amazing. All right, let's go to Niall Gardner. Niall Gardner, because Niall Gardner is a smart guy, and he's an English guy, and he was on the television yesterday, and I thought that he's a British commentator, and he's an all-around smart guy. I thought that he was interesting enough to share it with you, so Michael Piercy was able to gather up the audio. Niall Gardner, British commentator, Heritage Foundation, on the protests in London where hundreds of thousands of jihadis are out on the street with their Hamas flags.
Undoubtedly, these protests have been very anti-Semitic in nature. They have been full of hate and menace. They've been widely condemned by a wide range of British politicians. They are hugely unpopular, I think, with the British public in general. And it has been reported in London that some of the organisers behind these protests have direct links to Hamas and other terrorist organisations. Also, we think the Iranian regime is also stirring up trouble in London.
Because the worldwide jihad is on, right? And a number of Muslim leaders have for years, going back to Muammar Gaddafi and Hamas leaders today, have said that they're going to take over England and Europe by way of the womb, meaning they will outproduce, they will out-reproduce, they will produce a great many babies, Muslim women and Muslim men moving into London, into England, into Ireland. In England, the number one name for newborns is Mohammed. In Ireland, apparently, the number one name for newborns is Mohammed. And many tyrannical, bloodthirsty Muslim leaders from Gaddafi to Hamas have said, we will conquer Europe by way of the womb. We will out-reproduce all of you. Niall Gardner of the Heritage Foundation.
But at the end of the day, these demonstrations, I think, are not only hostile towards Israel, they're also hostile towards Great Britain itself. They do not represent British values in any way, and the British government actually asked the police to ban these protests this weekend. It's Armistice Day in London today, Remembrance Sunday tomorrow, but the police actually declined to do so, so the protests are moving forward.
But the police declined to intervene. That's fear. They do not represent British values. They do not represent American values. They do not represent Western values. And neither does the left. And that's one of the reasons that the left can saddle up with the jihadis. Niall Gardner of the Heritage Foundation.
There needs to be a far stronger response from the British government, from the police. We need to see the arrests of those who are supporting terrorism. We need to see prosecutions, the deportation of foreign nationals who are supporting terrorist groups.
Now, the British Prime Minister, of course, is not a, fuzzy-bearded old Democrat. He is, Rishi Sunak. And Rishi Sunak doesn't have generations and generations of family that have fought for the British crown. And so on. Niall Gardner of the Heritage Foundation has been paying attention for a long time.
In many ways, these protests represent the fundamental antithesis of everything the British people stand for. They are hate-filled protests. The anti-Semitism that we've seen in these protests is absolutely disgusting. And we need to see the British government adopting a far tougher stance against them.
But that's not going to happen, at least no time soon, is it? No, it's not. Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister of Great Britain in 2022. What is he doing? What is Joe Biden doing? There is an epidemic of anti-Semitism, of anti-Westernism loose in the United States on American college campuses, in Great Britain, in Western Europe. The West is under assault, and our leaders seem to be oblivious to the realities of all of this. Pay no attention, racists, because that's the standard procedure, right? And that's the fallback for all things. Yes, it is. I've got more for you on this topic, and Douglas Murray makes a return to the Chris Plant Show. See, I'm kind of a fan of Western civilization myself. I grew up in Western civilization. I was taught an appreciation for Western civilization. Told you the story last week about the 25-year-old young man from Wichita, Kansas that has a YouTube channel. He goes by Mr. Beast. Makes about $10 million a month. He went into 5 countries in Africa, put in more than 100 wells to give fresh water to hundreds of villages and 500,000 people. And I did scratch my head and say, a 25-year-old from Wichita can go in and do that in a 10-minute video, and those 5 governments can't do that. I like Western civilization. I'm in favor of it. Means clean water and electricity and modern medicine and space travel and instantaneous global communications and all kinds of good things. Let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's go to Philip, calling from Oh, he just dropped off. I was just going to go to Philip. Let's go to Joe calling from the great Republic of Texas. Joseph, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, that's great to talk to you, Chris. I really like your show. Thanks for your work.
You bet. Thank you.
My question is, with all the protesters and the Palestinians and Tlaib and everyone, if they really want to cease fire, why aren't they petitioning Hamas to release the hostages? I'll let you talk about that and I'll listen. Thanks very much.
It's a great point, and I saw that on the big board here, Joe, and Michael and I were talking about it before we went to you. Why don't they keep demanding that Israel stop shooting? Now, Hamas is shooting. Hamas is firing rockets and missiles at Israel every day in the hope of killing as many civilians and children and women as possible. That's their goal. Their stated goal is to wipe the state of Israel off the map from the river to the sea. And there are Democrat members of Congress and Democrat voting college students and Democrat voting college professors who are also chanting from the river to the sea, which is a call for genocide. I don't believe that anybody's so stupid, maybe some college students at Harvard, are so stupid that you don't know what the phrase means. From the river to the sea, ask any Israeli. Everybody knows what it means. Ask any jihadi. It means wiping Israel off the face of the map. And Joe, you're asking, why don't they say, release all the hostages? They're still holding, I think the number is 233 or something like that. And who knows what is being done to them as we stand by, and Israel doesn't, because it's a matter of survival for them. It is an existential threat. Democrats like to use that phrase around here because they're hysterical ninnies in women's clothing, and that's the men, of course. Why not? Why are they not calling for the release of all the hostages in exchange for a ceasefire? Well, that's a very good question, Joe. But I can tell you the American left and Joe Biden and our Secretary of State, nobody's calling for the release of all the hostages. I think it's because they're cowards. I think it's because they're afraid. I think it's because they don't stand up. They have no moral guideposts. They have no ethics to live by.